Girls, I've got a story to tell you, and it's about Jesus.
Amen.
And today's subject is Heritage Day. And what most of Australia doesn't understand is Heritage Day. So you might notice me wearing a colourful jacket, and this is from Africa. And I just want you to know that our team visit Africa and we love the Africans, but I keep telling you that we love the Aborigines here in Australia equally as much. We think they're wonderful, and I just want to tell them today that they've got this. There's some belligerents amongst them trying to cause trouble. And so this is the way you can get over that problem with those belligerents, is that this Heritage Day is 1 day, 1 week after settlement in Sydney. And so that was really the day when God blessed the people, because it was the first sermon that was preached in Australia. Because what happened is Reverend Johnson, he preached from Psalm 116 to all the convicts and the soldiers, and that was on this particular day, the 2nd of February, very important. And so this is when God was thanked for the blessing. So I'm going to read from it right now. I do want you to know that I study history, and I did write a book about Samuel Marsden. Apologised for the misreport about Samuel Marsden, and also he was the father of the wool industry that was wrongfully attributed to MacArthur. He was not the father of the wool industry, but Samuel Marsden was. And so the important thing today is to know about the convicts in that time. They weren't here in Australia by their choice. They were brought as slaves. They were slaves to the ruling class of the British. And the British were soldiers on commission. They had a responsibility to take the convicts to Australia, put them into service, and start a colony. And that's exactly what they did. And so the soldiers themselves were not invaders. They were sent. Already there was a report in Britain about Australia only was sparsely populated, and only a few groups of natives were seen. And so it was they basically had the understanding that Australia was virtually uninhabited. So they didn't know the truth. But the important thing is the poor old slaves, they were the convicts, and they're the ones that are our forebears. And so all the people today, we're from that stock, or people that have come to Australia as refugees. They're different people to what is being painted. So we're not responsible for invading Australia. We were sent here. So I want you to know this. I'm going to read from Psalm to tell you about Heritage Day. And so what Psalm 116:12 says, how can I repay the Lord for all his goodness to me? And so that's what the psalm is saying, and that's what was preached. Touched the hearts of everybody who heard it. And so they were giving thanks to God for their safe arrival, even though many of them would have died on the trip. But they arrived in Sydney Cove, and they were starving because there was almost no food. And so that's what happened. In fact, history records that one of those convicts was hung for stealing about 5 kilos of potatoes. He was the first person hung in Australia, and he was done for that. That shows you how harsh it was, for stealing in the time of the lack of food in the colony. They were treating it very harshly. So that's what I want you to know today. But what the Aborigines don't understand is this, is that Australia was actually, the east coast of Australia was discovered by De Quiro, and he was with the Torres when they were charting Torres Strait, and so De Quiro came down as far as Gladstone in Queensland, and he named Gladstone New Jerusalem, and that was 200 years before Captain Cook. So the blessing of God was this, that the Spanish didn't take over Australia. Otherwise, you would have had the conquistadors creating problems in Australia with genocide. The Aborigines wouldn't have survived the harsh treatment that the conquistadors did in America. They basically wiped out the Aztecs in Mexico. So consider the fact that where you are today is a blessing, and be thankful for it, because God owns the land and everything in it. So it doesn't belong to Aborigines, it doesn't belong to us. But the beauty of it is we're here to manage and keep the place properly according to God. And that's why we're out here, we preach the gospel. The gospel simply is this: it's for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, and whomsoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. So that's what the gospel is about. It's about God and his love for us. He loves the Aborigines, he loves the Africans, he loves us, he loves Australia, because Australia is blessed, because that's what happened, that's what the Quiro said. He said it was the information he got from the Aborigines was Australia was the great southland of the Holy Spirit, and we claim that blessing for today. So God bless you all. Thank you.